Welcome back, champions. Today, we venture into a realm of thought rarely explored. Ethical ambiguity, where the lines between right and wrong blur, and where moral certainty gives way to shades of gray. In this journey, we will uncover the lessons of Niccolo Machiavelli, the Renaissance thinker who dared to question the absolutes of good and evil. By the end of this, you will learn how to navigate through ethical gray areas, arming yourself with the clarity to make decisive, effective choices in an uncertain world. We live in a world where the ideal and the real often clash. We are constantly asked to make choices that demand more than just a rigid adherence to preordained morality. Machiavelli understood this well. He did not advocate for the abandonment of ethics, but rather for a flexible approach to them. His belief was simple yet challenging. To be truly effective in life, we must learn to adapt, to bend without breaking, and to embrace a form of moral relativism when necessary. This might sound controversial to some, but let's remember, moral absolutism often leads to paralysis, while ambiguity can lead to action. Machiavelli believed that power and survival, the cornerstones of human existence, were often achieved by navigating moral uncertainty. The world is not black and white. It is filled with shades of gray, where situations demand that we question our rigid principles. Some may call this approach ruthless, but it is in fact a form of realism that allows us to thrive rather than merely survive. As Machiavelli once wrote in The Prince, "It is much safer to be feared than loved, if one must choose," emphasizing that outcomes matter more than perceptions of righteousness. Think about this. Life does not reward the naive or the passive. Those who cling blindly to ideals without considering the shifting nature of reality often find themselves outmaneuvered, disillusioned, and ultimately defeated. Machiavelli's wisdom teaches us to look beyond simplistic moral categories and embrace a higher level of discernment. We are not advocating for a life devoid of values, far from it. We are calling for the application of wisdom in knowing when to uphold certain principles and when to let them go for the greater good. We are often led to believe that moral clarity is the ultimate strength. But true strength lies in our ability to see beyond right and wrong and into what works. Moral relativism, as Machiavelli espoused, isn't about abandoning ethics. It's about understanding that morality itself is often relative to circumstances, power dynamics, and outcomes. The person who knows when to shift their values without losing their core essence is the one who will not just survive, but flourish. Let's take a moment to reflect. How many times in history have we seen those bound by inflexible codes of conduct fall, while those who embraced adaptability rose? Machiavelli understood that virtue isn't always about sticking to the script. It's about understanding the play and adjusting your role accordingly. The ancient philosophers have all acknowledged this truth in one way or another. Take the Stoics, who preached about the importance of controlling what we can and accepting what we cannot. This overlaps with Machiavelli's teachings in more ways than one. We control our ethical framework, but only within the bounds of the ever-changing landscape of life. When the environment shifts, we must be willing to shift with it, or risk being left behind. Machiavelli reminds us that leadership, success, and fulfillment demand more than just rigid ethics. They require cunning, foresight, and the ability to face ambiguity without flinching. To be Machiavellian in the best sense of the word is to understand that outcomes matter as much as intent, that effectiveness is sometimes more virtuous than idealism. This is not an invitation to corruption or deceit. It is a call to wisdom, a higher form of judgment that transcends simplistic notions of good and evil. Machiavelli's critics often paint him as a cold, calculating figure, but nothing could be further from the truth. His work reflects a deep understanding of the human condition, the struggles we face when principles meet reality. He knew that the world was not kind to those who waited for ideal conditions to act, who were paralyzed by indecision and bound by absolute moralities. He also knew that those who dared to act in the gray areas who were unafraid to challenge moral absolutes, would be the ones to shape their destiny. How many times have we been faced with decisions that seem impossible to resolve, caught between what we are told is right and what we know deep down will get results? Machiavelli teaches us to embrace the uncertainty, to walk the tightrope between good and effective without fear. This requires courage, self-awareness, and an unwavering commitment to the end goals we set for ourselves. Those who do this do not just survive, they thrive, they lead, they win. This brings us to one of Machiavelli's core insights: results justify actions. For many, this is where Machiavelli's philosophy meets controversy, but it is where the heart of his teachings lies. It is not that the ends always justify the means, but rather that the means must be judged in light of the outcomes they achieve. What is morality if it doesn't serve your ultimate purpose? What are ethics if they cripple your ability to make a positive impact on the world? These are the hard questions Machiavelli forces us to ask, and it is in wrestling with these questions that we grow stronger, wiser, and more effective. One of the greatest lessons Machiavelli offers us is the notion that leadership is not about what you profess to believe, but what you actually achieve. Too often, we confuse intentions with outcomes. We get caught up in proclaiming our values, hoping the world will reward us simply for being on the right side of a moral argument. But in the real world, outcomes are what truly matter. Machiavelli asks us to judge our success not by our intentions alone, but by our ability to transform those intentions into tangible results. It's a tough truth, but it is the difference between wishing for greatness and achieving it. Think about the individuals in history who left a mark, for better or worse. Were they the ones who followed the moral compass laid out for them by others? Or were they the ones who created their own path, even when it was unpopular? Machiavelli admired those who had the foresight to adapt their actions to the shifting tides of their circumstances. He recognized that the most successful leaders were not bound by rigid dogma, but were instead guided by pragmatism. They didn't allow themselves to be confined by ideals that no longer served them, and in doing so, they forged new realities. This is the true essence of moral relativism, not abandoning your values, but evolving them to meet the demands of the moment. In life, we often struggle with the idea of compromise. We've been taught that compromising our values is synonymous with weakness, but Machiavelli offers a different perspective. Compromise, when done strategically, is not a sign of defeat, but of wisdom. The ability to balance idealism with realism is a hallmark of a strong and effective mind. Those who cling too tightly to ideals for the sake of purity often find themselves isolated, while those who know when to give and when to hold their ground are the ones who move forward. Compromise, in Machiavelli's view, is not the same as surrender. It's about choosing your battles wisely and winning the ones that truly matter. Machiavelli also knew that sometimes the appearance of virtue is more important than virtue itself. In a world where perception shapes reality, how others see you can often determine your fate. But here's the key. He never suggested abandoning ethics altogether, only that there are moments when appearing moral might be just as effective as being moral. It's a subtle but powerful distinction. People are often swayed by what they think they see, and being aware of this dynamic gives you an edge. It's not about deception, but about presenting yourself in a way that aligns with the goals you wish to achieve. Think of it as a strategic tool. When used wisely, it enhances your ability to lead and influence. Let's not forget that Machiavelli's philosophy was deeply rooted in self-reliance. He believed that while fortune might play a role in our lives, we are ultimately responsible for shaping our destiny. There's something powerful in taking ownership of your fate. It frees you from the whims of external forces and places control firmly in your hands. Fortune, after all, favors those who take action, those who are willing to seize the moment and craft opportunity from the chaos. Machiavelli's wisdom encourages us to be proactive in life, to anticipate challenges and prepare for them, and most importantly, to act decisively when the time is right. As we wrap up, remember that life is not black and white, but full of shifting shades. Machiavelli's wisdom teaches us to adapt, to act boldly, and to seize control of our destiny in uncertain times. Use these lessons to sharpen your mind and lead with purpose. Stay focused, stay determined, and continue to push forward on your path. If this message has ignited something within you, remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss the insights that can drive your growth. Check out our other videos to expand your knowledge of ancient wisdom and enhance your journey toward mastering your path to success. Until next time, champions, stay strong and stay committed to your path.